The Democratic governor of North Carolina recently vetoed a draconian 12-week abortion ban. But thanks to the lies and treachery of one recently elected state representative, the pro-forced birth Republican Party was able to successfully override that veto, and now reproductive rights have taken a critical hit in the state. Intrigued? Then click that like and subscribe, and enjoy the video. So regrettably, this is a sobering follow-up to a series of videos that we've done about the political situation in North Carolina. As a bit of a refresher, North Carolina is a relatively highly populated purple state. But thanks to Republican gerrymandering over the past decade, Republicans have been able to essentially enshrine a near supermajority in the state legislature. We do have a Democratic governor, Roy Cooper, who's very good, but with the GOP teetering so close to a veto-proof supermajority, it's been really difficult for the governor to get his agenda passed and to successfully block the GOP. And that was made much harder in April of this year. There was a recently elected state representative named Tricia Cotham who ran as a pro-choice, relatively progressive Democrat in a blue district. And she won, and she was inaugurated in January 2023. And then in April 2023, she held a press conference and announced that she was leaving the Democratic Party and joining the Republicans. We did a video about that. Her constituents were justifiably furious, and she hemmed and hawed and dissembled about what this would mean in terms of her future votes. She wouldn't come out and commit to holding her previous positions, like, for example, her pro-choice position, but she implied to the press, when they pointedly asked her questions, that this really wouldn't change how she voted. Except it did change how she voted, because she supported a Republican-backed 12-week abortion ban, and she also voted to override Governor Cooper's veto of that abortion ban. I'm going to play a quick clip for you, which kind of covers the basics, and then we'll dive into it more.
We have some breaking news for you. The North Carolina legislature has just banned abortion after 12 weeks with few exceptions. Now, Democratic Governor Roy Cooper had publicly vetoed this bill on Saturday, but Republicans hold a veto-proof supermajority in the State House, which means that today, the North Carolina State Senate and House were able to vote along party lines to override the governor. Their bill will become law, and the 12-week ban will take effect on July 1st. If anything demonstrates just how much these down-ballot measures matter and these down-ballot races, it is moments like these. And especially on a night like tonight, where there are elections happening right now in important down-ballot races.
So Alex is completely correct. Down-ballot races do matter immensely, and this is one such example. It's also very hard to to have confidence in some of these when you have a candidate who runs as a pro-choice progressive Democrat in a blue district. You vote for that pro-choice progressive Democrat in a blue district. They win the election, and then 3 months later, they switch parties. Now, I have no idea. I mean, I obviously, like most people, I suspect fraud. I expect cynicism. I expect that she was a disingenuous hack from the beginning. But let's say she wasn't. Let's say Tricia Cotham just sincerely and within 3 months had a sincere change of heart. A couple of things. Number one, she exercised. She publicly, and she testified, or she gave a speech about this years ago at the North Carolina State House, that she exercised her reproductive rights to have an abortion, a right that she is now taking away from millions of North Carolina women. And so, number one, it's an act of profound hypocrisy. Number two, even if she sincerely changed her heart and mind and her stances on these things, which fair enough, the ethical thing to do would be to resign. Because she should have held a press conference and said, look, to North Carolinians, I ran as a pro-choice progressive Democrat. That's why you elected me. But in the 3 months that I've been in office, I have had a sincere change of heart. I will be leaving the Democratic Party, joining the Republican Party, and I will probably vote accordingly. However, that's not why you elected me. That's not the platform and party on which you elected me. And I understand why this might seem fraudulent. So, to comport with ethics, I'm resigning my office, and I will run for re-election again as a pro-forced birth or pro-life Republican candidate. That's what an ethical person would do if they had a sincere change in heart. But instead, she's content to essentially defraud her voters. But hey, I say one thing, you voted for me with the expectation that this would be the case, and then within 3 months, I'm going to radically change party and platform. So it's disgusting. And of course, she's not going to resign because she's a hack. So in terms of the policy itself, the law that we're talking about, which will now, it's not a bill, it will become law. The law lowers the state cutoffs for most abortion from 20 weeks, which is bad enough, to 12 weeks, and requires patients to meet in person with a physician at least 72 hours before the procedure. 72 hours, okay? Beyond that, as Governor Cooper pointed out, see if I can find it. Abortion rights advocates and Democrats led by Cooper spent 2 weeks raising an alarm over the required 72-hour window for patients to see a doctor before their abortion procedure, and it required 2 in-person visits before that. It's wildly prohibitive. It's doing everything possible to try to prevent women from exercising their right to have an abortion in terms of expenses and logistics and inconvenience. Hey, you got to go here, you got to go here. It's got to be done in person. You got to do this, this, and this, to say nothing of the emotional cost. Exercising the right to have an abortion is not something that the vast majority of women who exercise that right do so cavalierly, right? There's usually rates of depression associated with it, all sorts of things, right? This is not a cavalier decision, and Republicans are trying to make it infinitely harder. Even like certain exceptions for rape and incest, the 12-week ban includes exceptions for rape and incest at 20 weeks and life-limiting fetal anomalies at 24 weeks, okay? And abortions will be legal when a doctor declares a medical emergency, such as when the mother's life is in danger. But this also carries risk, right? Because a doctor has to make that judgment call, and there's the possibility that that judgment call might be disputed, right? We saw a situation, we did a video about this a couple of weeks ago, a woman in Texas operating in a similar situation where Texas law says, well, yeah, if the doctor says that this is a medical emergency, you can have an abortion. Well, what if the doctor fears that they may be sued if their judgment is challenged, or that there would be some sort of legal or reputational consequences? Then that might prompt a doctor to decide that a medical emergency, well, maybe that's not quite a medical emergency, and that could endanger other women. We've seen situations like this. So it's incredibly draconian. And so reproductive rights have taken a critical hit in this state. And not to let Republicans off the hook, because, of course, the GOP is regressively pro-forced birth. They're not pro-life, because if they were pro-life, they would care about a fetus after it leaves the birth canal, becomes a baby, and then for the rest of its life. But they don't. But Tricia Cotham, to me, is the true villain of the story. And she is technically a Republican now, and perhaps was from the very beginning. This is truly despicable, what she's done and what she's allowed her party to do, and women will suffer as a consequence.